Hi, welcome to Rat and Cat. I'm Nakia. One of the things I like to do when I'm talking with people is ask them if they've seen Sasquatch or Bigfoot. There's just so much lore here in Western Washington and well, all over the country, but especially here in Washington. So a lot of people have stories. And one of the people I recently asked was Oscar Bauman, who is the president of the Oregon Groto. And I was surprised, but he had a story for me. What are your thoughts on Sasquatch in the area?
I have always been skeptical, but you don't want to be the fool that believes in it until you actually see it or something that could be it. And that's what I neither think it's I don't think it's a myth. I mean, but I've never seen it, so what am I to say? It's like I've never seen a cougar in the wild, so how do I know they're out there until I see one? So when I saw what I thought was Sasquatch, kind of changed my mind. And but the funny thing is, you have this perception of what you'll think when you see it, and then it's different than what it is. Because I was like, oh, I was so excited. If I ever saw one, I would be so jazzed. And when I saw it, it was the total opposite. I was scared out of my mind and went the other way. So, and it's funny. It's like seeing anything that people don't believe in. Try and pull out your camera, get it the right setting at dusk, and try to get a shot off. I've done that with a bear, and all I saw was a black blob. So when I saw what could have been Sasquatch, I didn't even have time to do any of that. I was like, ugh, I don't want the flash going off. I don't want to arise, because I was following it up the road. And I was like, just how you can keep tangents where if it turns around, you can step to the side and it's out of the line of sight. Because that's how scared I was. But I wanted to get closer to confirm what it was, because I couldn't. It was something hairy walking on two legs a quarter mile ahead of me on a road, and I didn't want to get any closer than that. So what happened was I had just gotten divorced, and I was out just hiking, finding waterfalls, trying to get my mind off of negativity. So I'm up near Bonneville Dam, hiking up a service road, and I'll call it a nor'easter. That's how bad the weather was. It was windy, raining. Only a fool, me, should be out there. And I got nothing else going on, so I'll just be out here. I had my rain gear, and so I'm walking up this road, and I see, is there a guy walking up ahead of me? Well, maybe I'll get a little closer. I don't think that's a guy. That's something hairy. And it was about 5 o'clock in the fall, so it's getting dark. So I had my camera, but a quarter mile away, your camera's not going to get anything, because I'm kind of a professional photographer. I just know what the camera's capable of, and it's not capable of that. And so I'm like, I don't want the flash going off. The flash is not going to help a quarter mile away. So I just tried to get closer, and finally I just was 5 miles up in the sticks by myself. I just decided, nope, this isn't worth it. So I turned around and just went back to my car, and I got back and I was like, okay, check all the parking lots. Maybe it was somebody. Not a car around, just me. So I can't say it was Sasquatch, but I can't say it wasn't. It was or wasn't. It was something tall, hairy, walking. That's the only way I can explain it. So, and then another time I was out caving, and I'm looking at what I think is a print in the moss, and out the corner of my eye, something's standing. And by the time I turn around, it's not there. And I'm like, what was that? It's like, you know there's something standing behind you, but you can't turn fast enough to see what it is. But the print I was looking at was definitely something big, but in moss you can't see the texture of what it was. And like, yeah, I'm out of here. I don't want to be out here getting beat up by something. I don't know how they operate, but old cavers up in the area have talked about encounters with them too. There was an old caver, he claimed to have been raped by one, but that's maybe an old wise tale. He lived up there, he was a hermit for years because he was a digger trying to dig into caves, and he had stories of them. So that's my stories of Sasquatch.
Was it a lady Sasquatch or
yeah.
a gay?
It was.
Sasquatch?
Yeah, his name. The caver was named Datis Perry, and a lot of the caves were named after him up in Falls Creek. He discovered all those caves, and his teepee. He has a A-frame teepee up in the woods, still there, with all this stuff. But he's been dead for 30, 40 years. But if you wander in the forest, you'll find it. I mean, I know where it is. I've looked at it. It's like long way from nowhere to be digging for caves.
Wow. When you saw this thing walking, did it walk just like a man? Did it have a little different move? It was,
you know, I was a quarter mile away. I couldn't. It walked like on 2 feet, and that's all I can. I mean, I wasn't out looking for Sasquatch, so I didn't like sit there and figure out what it was. I just assumed it was a guy until I figured, hey, he's not wearing clothes, it's hairy. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. I'm out of here.
Wow.
So,
wow.
And it's weird because I've found, like, Bonneville Dam, you wouldn't think you'd see something like that, but I've found some weird stuff up there because it's just easy to go up there. I found a bear paw, like ripped off a bear just sitting in the middle of the trail.
Wow, just a bare foot.
Barefoot. I even have a picture of it still. I took a picture of it as it's so smelly I didn't want it. Wow. I just left it. I took a picture and then like a big dead elk a little further. I don't know if they got in a fight or it's just weird stuff like that, and like scat that I couldn't figure out what it was. Like it wasn't bear scat, it wasn't elk, it was like, it looked like charcoal briquettes.
Is that on the way up to Two Chiefs or Table Mountain?
No, it's on the way up to Tanner Butte. You're going up above Waquilla Falls, which is the Bonneville, the Oregon side of Bonneville Dam. Oregon side, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
Interesting. Any other lore that you know about? People you know?
No, nobody ever really talks about it. I mean, I embarrassed to talk about it with people because it's like, yeah, I don't know what I saw. It wasn't a guy, but I can't say it wasn't a guy in a gorilla suit either. So.
Yeah.
But like I said, it scared me enough where I didn't want to be near. I turned around and left. Yeah. Like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah. When I was talking with Oscar afterwards, he said he was reluctant to share that story and doesn't tell it very often unless people ask, just because, you know, it's the same thing that I experienced where people think that, and I believe that most people who are looking for Sasquatch are imagining things. But then Oscar, like I did, saw something, and it just, you can't explain it any other way. And so I still don't necessarily believe in Sasquatch, but I don't have an explanation for the tracks that I saw. I was just talking with another guy this last week, actually during the eclipse. We were standing up on a hilltop, and a guy happened to be there, and he happened to mention that he had seen, when he was younger at Girl Scout Lake here in southwestern Washington, or heard, actually, they were fishing, and they heard splashes in the water that were a ways away from them, but the vantage point, or where the rocks landed in the lake, the distance from the trees and the loudness or the size of the splash, he said they had to be pretty big rocks, and it didn't seem like somebody could humanly throw that far, although they didn't see any of the rocks. He said maybe it was a beaver or something, and maybe it was. But there are all these fun stories and myths and legends, and it's hard to believe if there was really a Bigfoot or Sasquatch that people wouldn't capture it on camera. But it sure is fun to listen to the stories and hear what people say. Love to hear your Sasquatch story.